A little while ago we said that we were going to do the review series exclusively on Twitch because it fitted the live stream thing better, but we've also not been very good at keeping that up, so we're going to bring it back to YouTube temporarily and just do another test on this. If the video gets claimed by the people that own the music, so be it. Thank you very much to Sudio.com, they are a headphone manufacturer, for sending us some free headphones. We also have a discount code, so that's in the description. Thank you very much. The first artist for today is Overflowing, and the song is Blood is God. Cool. The entire kind of production of this, I think, sounds really, really good. I really like the blend of the guitars that are kind of distorted and the electronic sounds. It's something that I think a lot of artists have tried and failed at, and I think the blend that you've got is really quite good. The layered vocals and the way that kind of the vocals are being presented as this kind of constant, not gang vocal, but there's always more than one vocal going off. There isn't just a lead vocal and then backing vocals. The vocal in general is just this kind of layered thing, and that sounds really cool. The biggest issue for me, and it's really kind of the only issue I have with the song, is that there are like no dynamic changes. There's one bit like 2 minutes in that it dips for like 2 beats and then comes back in, and it's just flatline for the entire thing. There's no crescendos, there's no build-ups, there's no drop for a little bit other than that little tiny bit. It's just a constant volume and depth. Everything's in all the time. And I don't think it necessarily suffers because of it. I just think it has potential to be a bit boring in terms of its dynamics because there aren't any.
Okay, so I think that the reason that the synths in this song work so well with the guitars in this song is because the synths aren't like your modern style synths. Like, a lot of modern bands kind of use these either like dubsteppy kind of synths or like really high synths, and that for me is the thing that clashes with guitar music. Mm-hmm. This song, however, uses kind of like retro synth wavy-esque synths, and that for some reason seems to work a lot better with the distorted guitars. I think the fact that the distorted guitars are like, I don't know if they're palm muted or if they're like just being played low, or even if it's just a bass, but it seems to work well. I think if the guitars were like going all out with power chords and stuff, I don't think it'd work as well. I really like the vocal layering in this song, as Lenny said. I think it might just be one person doing like all the layering as well.
I think it is.
Yeah, because each vocal track, I'll call it, works so perfectly well with the others that it just kind of has to be one person. I think the vocal melodies are a little like, not metal, but kind of like that post-rocky System of a Downy, maybe a little Audio Slavey. There's a band that does this. It's the band that does Black Hole Sun. Oh, yeah. Soundgarden. I don't know Soundgarden very well, but that vocal kind of reminds me of that style of rock. I do think the instrumental is a bit repetitive, especially when like the chorus dies down and it's just the same thing that we've heard for the past 2 minutes. I think it gets a bit repetitive. However, I don't see as much of an issue with the texture not changing, and I think that's because I'm associating this song to be more like a synth track. And a lot of synth tracks that I listen to that have that style of synth to them don't change in texture that much. And I just don't really see an issue with it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, overall, I think it's a very, very good song and works surprisingly well. I don't think I've ever seen a synth song blend with like guitars as well as that, which is saying a lot.
Yeah, it genuinely sounds really cool as an entire track, so good job.
Okay, the next track we're going to review today is called Needs Me To by American Ink.
I'm the punk who never told it to her face, hanging back and always staying in my place. I tell myself the opportunity's gone, I tell myself it was the way I came up, but she needs me to.
First off with this song, the guitars sound a little bit thin for me. I think if you're going for this impactful punk rock style, they need to have some more oomph to them. They just sound really thin and like they've been recorded on like the amp presets on Pro Tools or something, which we know about because we did a lot of back in the day.
Yeah, and it sounded weak.
Very, very occasionally with the riff that goes on in this song, there's a bit of a bass variation that goes on, and I don't know exactly what's going on, but it sounds really cool, and it gives a bit of variation to the riff. I find the chorus doesn't really have much going for it, like that lifts it up from the rest of the song. It just kind of seems like a continuation of the song, apart from the vocal harmony in the chorus. But I find that this vocal harmony leans the song away from the style that it's trying to be. The harmony sounds like a pop-punk harmony, and yet the song is kind of trying to be a bit more angry punk rock, aggressive, rather than what pop punk is, and I think that clashes slightly. I liked the little interlude section where you have music, 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 bass, 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 music, 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 guitar, guitar, guitar. I think that kind of works. It is a little dated, but for me, I liked it. However, I think things like that are a thing that only other musicians will appreciate. I think if you showed that song to just a normal person who doesn't know how to play guitar, or doesn't know how to play bass, or doesn't know the intricacies involved with writing something like that, I don't think they'd be impressed by it, and I think they'd see it as a pointless part of the song.
So, in your little description on Bandcamp, it says that you're a punk rock band, and yeah, I get that, but as soon as the riff came in, I thought, oh, this isn't really punk rock, this is too slow, it seems almost like a bit rock and roll, and then the vocal comes in, and then like the rest of the song happens, and it's like, oh yeah, okay, that is kind of punk rock. I'm assuming that the riff was written first and then the song was written around it. If that's the case, I don't really understand why it's as slow of a tempo as it is. I think it would sound much better and have much more energy if it was just a little bit faster. Now that you've written the entire thing, maybe that's not going to feel right to do, so maybe don't, but just worth noting in future, if you want a song that kind of wants to have that energy, which I think was what you were going for with this song, to have it as like a high energy track, the tempo needs to just push just a little bit more than it currently does. I got a bit of a rock and roll, or modern band trying to do rock and roll kind of vibe from it, when really it should be punk rock. As an entire kind of song, in terms of like how it's kind of performed and the way that it's seen overall, I think it's a song with a lot of potential. I think mixing wise it lets it down a little bit, and just a few other little things like the tempo and that kind of stuff lets it down just a tad, but I think overall it's a really cool song that has a hell of a lot of potential. If re-recorded, and if you wanted to do that, it could do really well for you. As Joe said, the guitar kind of tone seems kind of bland isn't the word.
It's just lacking a little bit.
Yeah, it needs to add the energy to the song, because that's kind of, I guess, its role in the genre of like punk rock. It's simple in what you're playing, but that's because it serves a kind of purpose in its tone, that it provides that energy, and currently it doesn't provide that energy. It might come down to the fact that you probably recorded this each track individually, like the drummer played his bit, the bassist played his bit, the guitarist played his bit, the vocal was sung on after, and that can sometimes hinder an artist, because you can tell that the intricacies of little bits of timing, because no one's playing perfectly on the beat, and that's fine, provided the little intricacies of that being different are done by everyone, and that will happen if you all play together, and you play together a lot, and then record together. So that will probably help it feel a little bit tighter, and by feeling tighter, it will probably kind of have that energy to it as well. Maybe it won't. Don't know, you'd have to try. Joe says he kind of likes that solo a bit. I don't, but mainly because of, as Joe said, it sounds a little bit dated. Like, The Who did it, Green Day did it about 15 years ago, if not longer, and not many modern artists do that kind of section where it's like music, 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 one instrument, music, 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 a different instrument, and just because no one's really doing it now, it does sound a little bit dated.
I think the issue with it is that the entire point of a section like that is to give each band member like a little bit to show off. It's the kind of thing a wedding band would do, where the singer would be like, we got Trevor Morris on drums, the drummer would do a solo, and showing how good each individual member is kind of pointless when we're talking about good songs and making an audience like your music.
Yeah, it's something that a lot of older bands did a lot, like Slash would get an 8-minute solo in the middle of a set because Slash is a good guitarist and they wanted to show that off. As a band, that doesn't necessarily make sense, and a lot of modern bands have kind of realised that and gone, well, people are here to see us and our songs, not to see Chad on bass show off. So, just keep that in mind. If you like it, then fair enough. Next is Ajiguda with All Over Again.
If they ask you, baby, if you're wrong or right, tell them that he loves your faith for us to fight. Tell them everything is gonna be alright, and it's alright. Cannot change when I belongs to the past. Moments turn into memories so fast.
So this song, and all the links to the songs are in the description if you want to hear the entire thing, because we're going to talk about different parts in the song, and you haven't heard all the parts in the song from this video. When I first heard this song, it was like, oh, this is a really well-produced singer-songwriter song. And I had really high hopes, and it sounds, especially in that kind of first verse section, like, oh, this is a cool-sounding track. And then it kind of went downhill from there for me. So when the chorus came in, there's a synth going on that I don't particularly like, but then there's a guitar that's just kind of doing a kind of ring-out, distorted guitar sound, and I just don't think it works at all. It kind of takes from being like a singer-songwriter piece to being like a country ballad, and I just don't think that is the right fit for this song at all. I'll be honest, I don't think country ballads are in at all, and it's not like a kind of music that's really been made or is popular, and that's fine if you just want to make it, but at the same time it sounds like an old piece of music that was done to be radio friendly. I actually wrote in all caps, so safe, like it's one of the safest sounding songs I've heard, because it's like it's fitting a formula. And I don't want to sound so negative about this song, but it sounds the most radio friendly it could possibly sound. I actually wrote a little note that just said, it sounds like a movie version of a rock artist. It reminds me that like you'd be dressed as like a proper rock artist, but really what you're playing is like pop music, except it's like kind of acoustic guitar pop music, which then really takes away from that then when you add in the rock guitar and the solo, which I guess I'll let Joe probably talk about when he comes to it, but the solos, I'm not a fan. Yeah, the production on the track is really good, and what you could make this song into has a lot of potential, but how it currently is too problematic for me to like, I think.
Okay, starting from the beginning with this song, I really like the fact that the vocals came in like as soon as the song started. I like the fact that we didn't have to wait fucking 40 seconds for there to be a really nice guitar intro and like a flute going off or anything like that. I like the fact that the vocals were straight in. However, I didn't like the fact that in this first verse there was this like delay effect that was so delayed it sounded almost like a call and response, like backing vocals, and I think it's far too early in the song to be bringing things like that in. You need to be bringing stuff like that in your second verse when you've already established your point, because if you're talking about something in your song, the first verse is the introduction to that subject. And when you see someone doing a speech and they're introing the subject of the speech, they don't have people, like, fucking backing them up, saying the lines back to them. It's just the wrong place in the song to have that. Contrary to Lenny's opinion, I liked the background synths. I think they worked with what the song was trying to be, but I think the song failed at what it was trying to be. And that is to do with what Lenny said about it following too much of a formula and trying to be, like, a country pop song and trying to be a rock song at the same time, and then adding these synths in. It just seems like a bit of a mishmash, and while it is all well produced and put together nicely and it does feel like a good cohesive song, I just don't know where it sits, and I don't know if anyone from any particular audience of the genres that it's comprised of would like it. I thought the chorus was great, like musically. I liked the vocal melody, I liked the synth melody, I liked the harmonies, I liked everything about the chorus. It uplifted itself from the song really nicely and did exactly what a chorus should do. But that is, I think, an underlying problem with the song, is that everything does exactly what the rule book says it should do. Like, there's die-down verses, and there's a big uplifting chorus, and there's a die-down verse, and there's a big uplifting chorus, and then there's a bridge, and then there's a solo.
Get out of here, all over again.
Okay, so from about 30 seconds before the solo, I had this nervous feeling in the pit of my stomach, and I was thinking, he's going to do a really big solo here, isn't he? And then I thought, no, he's not. He's gonna keep it nice. He's not going to do a solo. And then he did a solo, and every fibre of my being just said, no. There was no need to have this solo here. It pushed the song over into cheesiness, which is where it wasn't sat before. And I think the reason as to why the solo is in the song is to make it a rock song. This song is not a rock song, so it should not have the things that try to make it a rock song. It's like you've written a singer-songwriter song and go, oh, I'm going to put distorted guitar in it, it's a rock song. I remember on X Factor a few years ago, that woman from N-Dubs, it was the rock day, and they did a Kesha song, and they put guitars in it, and Dermot O'Leary or whoever was hosting it said, oh, that's not a rock song. And then Talisa said, oh, is this got distorted guitars in it? Distorted guitars does not make a rock song. Energy makes a rock song, and this song doesn't have energy. And the fact that it has this solo makes it sound cheesy, and it's just unnecessary.
It's also worth saying that the guitar solo tone is like actually quite a heavily distorted, like almost metal style thing, and the kind of shit that's going on is like not even rock at that point. It's like too much.
Yeah, I think as a song, it is good. Production, it is exceptional. But all the things that comprise the song just don't really work. They're all individually good. Like, I think if that guitar solo sat in a Guns N' Roses song from 30 years ago, it would work. But in today's modern climate where people's attention spans are so small, you just can't afford to have things like that in your song.
And the kind of Dick Rubin guitar solo, like Look How Good I Am at Playing, has kind of died out at this point. So it doesn't fit into most music.
Yeah, because there's that many people now who play guitar and that are in bands, it's a sad thing, but it's not seen as impressive anymore. So if you say, oh yeah, I play guitar, and then you get up on the stage and you do like the thrusting thing and you play a guitar solo like this, it's just...
It doesn't have the effect that it once did.
No. Okay, that's all I have to say about that song.
Yeah, thank you for submitting the song though. As much as sometimes we might be negative about songs, we don't ever want you to stop sending songs in. So thank you for sending the song, and good production.
The fourth song of today is called The Royal Verdict by Smileyception. Okay, so there is a bit of a disclaimer that we have to say with this song before we start reviewing it. In the bio of Smileyception's Bandcamp page, it says, we are a lo-fi garage rock band. We have recorded everything on an iPhone. Which to me sounds a little strange, but if that's kind of the gimmick that they're going for and they want to play up to that, fair enough. So, because of this song is not produced to a standard that I would see as releasable. But if...
It does also say demo on it, and it is released on Bandcamp, which is kind of... You get that with... Like, people who listen
it's
to
a
music on
lo-fi
Bandcamp
platform, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So, the way in which you've presented this song fits the way in which you've recorded this song. So
okay.
And you're guilty, cries the queen. Off with enemies not to be seen, and no one knows why she went down. Some would say she dared to frown.
The first thing I would say about it is throughout the majority of this song there is a really low guitar melody in the background that is like really high and distorted, and it's, you can
by low it means low volume, high in pitch.
It's very quiet, but it's high in pitch. It just doesn't need to be there. It kind of clashes with the vocal, and it just doesn't add anything to the song whatsoever. It doesn't add to the mood of the song. It's like you've got this kind of upbeat, chirpy song, then you've got this like weird riff thing going on. It just doesn't work. The vocals of this song are pretty good. The tone is good, the melody's good, the vocal line, everything about the vocals are really good. It all makes for a really catchy, like, sort of indie track, would you say? It's like a really nice kind of...
It kind of reminds me of Rat Boy without that kind of big energy to it.
Yeah, it's just kind of like chill and nice and relatively upbeat, and the vocals, I think, add a lot to that. However, what I would say is, because you're going for this big lo-fi sound and everything is kind of a bit messy, the vocals like sit on top of it, sounding really clean, which doesn't really fit with the rest of it. I would recommend adding some form of very, very, very mild distortion to your vocal tracks, which would hopefully make it blend with everything else a little better. It would make it sound like it has been recorded in a rough and tumble way, in the same way that everything else has. If you have recorded these vocals on an iPhone, like you say you have, then I understand why it sounds like it sounds, but it probably should have something extra done to it to make it feel like it fits with the rest of the song. In the second verse of the song, there was a change in the pattern that the drums were playing. It tried to go really complicated and a bit syncopated, and it just didn't work with the mood of the song. It seemed unnecessary. I really like the high vocals in the song, like the oohs and ahs that are going on. I think they fit really nicely with the mood of the song. The whole mood of the song is the thing that I really like about it, like the kind of like, it's chilled but it's uplifting and it's happy and it's just a nice song. In terms of songwriting, I don't think I would fault anything about it. I think it moves perfectly as a song, like all the texture changes and stuff are fine. However, the thing that holds it back for me is obviously production.
I'll talk about the kind of iPhone production thing in a second, but in terms of tone, that guitar sounds like shit. And I don't want to be as harsh as I am, but it genuinely does, mainly just because it's got some form of like phaser or chorus on it, and if you just took that off and just kept it how it is, it would sound infinitely better. With a bit of tweaking, it could sound really, really good, but I just think with the phaser on it, it's one of those effects that most artists can't get away with using and it sounding good. Some artists have, and it is like 0.1% of people that are actually using that effect can make it sound good and work in a song. I don't think it works here. I wouldn't have it. I've got the word song and a tick and the word mix and a cross, and then I realised that you're kind of recording on an iPhone, so there's a bit of leniency to be done here. What I would say is you can probably get a decent mix that still sounds kind of lo-fi out of just recording with an iPhone. It's going to take some practice, and I think you should probably record like 10-15 songs each time you record a new one, changing little bits about how you're recording each instrument to really try and get the best out of recording each instrument with an iPhone, because it's hard. If you're recording a drum kit, if you're doing like the entire thing in one go, it needs to be put in a very specific place so that all the volumes of all the things are right when going into one mic. It's hard to do, and it's really hard to do right, so you do need that kind of trial and error. But I promise, if you do it and you re-record loads of different things, you never have to release them, but just re-record loads of kind of tracks, trying different things and really getting, okay, that I did in track 4 on the drums sounds really good, but that I did in track 6 sounds really good for guitar. And then when you've done all that, you've got the way that you need to be recording all of the different instruments with the iPhone, and you can probably get some really good mixes out of it. Sticking on the mix, you embrace stereo and actually panning things so little in this song, and I think that it would drastically improve the song if you embrace stereo a little bit more, even just by recording 2 versions of the same guitar, panning one hard right, panning one hard left. That just makes songs sound better. Just explore how people are doing proper professional production techniques and maybe start applying some of them to your lo-fi recording, because yes, you want the lo-fi sound, but just recording on the iPhone itself will give you that. So embracing some better production techniques elsewhere will kind of help you find a middle ground where it's not too low quality. Cool, thank you very much for sending in a song. I like when people send interesting ways of doing things.
Yeah, it's a really nice, like, it is kind of a gimmick, but it is a really cool gimmick that I've never really seen before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good. Okay.
Oh, fucking hell.
Yeah, the temperature of this room is gradually getting colder and colder and colder. We have a heater, which you'll notice we turned on halfway into the Let's Write a Song video, and then realised that it's actually quite loud, so we haven't got it on, and it's fucking cold. So last is going to be Tidal Drive with Let Me Know. Start with a really big positive here. The dynamic changes that you've put into this song, like the fact that the first minute or so, maybe even longer, is a gradual build up. Like it starts with just a guitar and then the bass and the drums kind of come in, but then everything kind of comes in a bit, and then it gradually kind of builds and builds and builds, and then comes in with like a really big kind of like riffy section. It's just kind of a climax, and then dies back down, and then does the same kind of again towards the end of the song. Is really good. Like, that's the kind of songwriting that I was talking about earlier in the episode that I like. I like dynamic changes, because I always feel like if something's high energy, but for an entire song it's high energy, it loses that feeling of energy, because it's just the constant becomes that. Whereas if the constant of the song is kind of sat in the middle, when there's a high energy bit, it feels like there's a high energy bit. The thing letting that down is that the high energy bit in this song isn't mixed in such a way that it feels like it hits the climax that it should. I think that's mainly down to the fact that you're probably using like one track for the guitar, or one track per guitar. So when you've recorded the chorus, or the big bit, just kind of mixed it in, you're obviously accounting for the fact that earlier in the song it's a little bit quieter or whatever. So when that hits, it's a little bit quieter. Like, it should be on a new track, loud, panned wide, big reverby thing, and it will sound amazing. Currently, it just sounds like it's part of the same track. It sounds like you've just kind of emulated what you do live, which is fine, but it should have more of a oomph for that section than it currently does. Changing tracks and pumping up the volume a bit, especially on like the guitars and the bass, would be really handy for that. For me, the singer seems like he lacks a little bit of confidence. It's not something where it's like, oh, you should be singing louder, or you should be singing more gritty, or you should be singing any way different to what you already are. It's just there's a little sound that I hear in people's voices when it's obvious that they're a little bit nervous, and there's no easy way around it. We made a video a very long time ago about kind of having nerves as a singer. I don't know whether that'll help. I don't remember what we said. But I don't have a solution. But what I do know is for me, it sounds like that you aren't too confident singing, and I can hear that in your voice, and that's a bit of an issue. Not a major issue, but I'm aware of it. There's a bit right at the beginning of the song and a bit towards the end of the song where the guitar riff kind of plays, and the drums and the bass go psh, psh, psh. And this is used in a lot of different types of music. Musicals use it, older rock songs use it, and generally it's used to kind of have a massive hit of emphasis and then kind of fade, and then have a massive hit of emphasis and then kind of fade. And it doesn't serve that purpose. It doesn't actually have a massive hit of energy and then fade. It's just kind of like, and it's just not impactful. It's not got any kind of energy to it, which means the oomph that it's supposed to give isn't there, which means it doesn't serve that purpose. So I don't think it needs to be there. Have the riff doing the thing, and maybe have the drum and bass do something at that time, but I just don't think the hits do the thing that they're supposed to do, so they just kind of a bit pointless, in my opinion.
I also feel that the singer of this song is lacking in confidence. I feel he's a bit introverted with his style of singing and would probably benefit from expressing himself more. However, for the type of song that this is, I don't think that is an issue. This song is the type of song that is a very introverted song. It's very sort of, I don't know, it doesn't really need to be out there and expressive as much, because it's it's an unconfident song, and I presume the subject is something about that, or something that relates to that. So I don't think that the confidence of the vocalist is a massive issue with this song. Throughout the song, there are several moments where things just go out of time. This could be when the drums stutter a little bit, or when the guitar just kind of goes out of time with the drums a little bit. It just feels a little bit messy in places, and it's not a massive issue to the untrained ear, but not to sound like dickheads or anything, but me and Lenny have been reviewing songs and analysing songs for quite a long time now. We can tell this stuff. And I imagine a lot of other people will be able to tell this kind of stuff as well, so it's very important to bear in mind everything you do must be tight. I like the fact that this song builds up gradually. I like the fact that it starts off really downbeat and then goes up into a crescendo. However, I feel the crescendo is hindered by two things. Number one, the mix doesn't allow for it to explode in the way that it should. And you should probably explore putting that guitar part on a different track to kind of boost the volume or add more to it to make it seem more impactful. Two, just before the crescendo, at around the 135 mark, the guitarist goes for his final high notes before the crescendo hits. This note feels out of key. Might not be out of key, but it just doesn't feel right and doesn't fit the mood of the song, and it breaks like the tonal structure and just messes with you, and you're expecting a key change and there isn't a key change, so it just fucks things up a little bit. I would say the drums are too loud in this mix. The bass needs seriously umphing up, not necessarily with distortion or volume, but just with bass, so it actually feels like a bass. I feel that you need to take advantage of the stereo field more with your mixing as well. I feel that because the guitars are like light and reverberate, the fact that you could have them like in this really big stereo field would really benefit the song. I think if you went too far with it, it'd sound a little bit like you're trying to be like a stadium rock band or something with like loads of reverbs and delays and things going on. It doesn't necessarily need that much stuff going on. It just needs a bit more panning. Just pan your stuff to the side and you will feel the space increase of your song, and you'll feel it become much more big and space-filling.
That'll also give you a little bit of room to really umph that bass as well without it just kind of muddying the thing up, because the guitars will be out of the way.
Yeah, what you kind of got at the minute is everything in your mix is kind of sat in this area. So everything is kind of fighting to get on top of each other, and that's not good. Every instrument needs to have its own space in the mix. So we usually have the kick in the middle, the snare in the middle, the cymbal to the side, the guitar to the sides, and the bass in the middle as well. And that fills the sonic spectrum really nicely. And that is what I recommend you do in future.
Thank you very much for sending in the music, and thank you to everyone who sent in music. If you want to send in music to be reviewed, email this email. And we've got a little bit of a thing, I guess, to say here in terms of anyone who has sent us stuff for this series but it hasn't been reviewed yet. All of these songs that were featured in this episode were emailed to us last year in 2018. I have about 15 more songs that haven't been used that are from 2017. We feel as though that's a bit too long of a time now to really justify putting them in this series, because there's certain people who may not watch us anymore, so won't actually benefit from it. There's a chance that some of these songs don't exist anymore because people have made something better and taken it down. There's a chance that you've just got newer songs that you'd much prefer us to review. So, if you're one of the people that sent us music and we've never featured it, and you either want to send us the same link that you sent us last time or the same file that you sent us last time, or you just want to send us some of your new stuff, please do that, because everything in my inbox now that's not been featured won't be featured. So, email this email. Cool, thank you very much. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, Studio sent us some headphones. Just got a pair, I've got a pair. They're really kind of cool. They come with like extra little like caps, so you can kind of customize them and make them look like how you want them to look, which is really cool. They make smaller headphones like in-ear ones. They make headphones like this, which are like the medium-sized ones, and then they make the kind of big headphones for like your sound geek that wants that big kind of bass sound. Thank you very much for that. They have also supplied us with a discount code, so you can get 15% off on any of their products. And it's also an infinite thing, so if you're watching this video in 3 years' time, the discount code should still work. So it's the Music Lab without any spaces in it. That's 15% off on studio.com. Cool. If you want to see more videos from this series, click on my side of the screen. If you want to see our best of playlist, click on Joe's side of the screen. We will see you next week. Thank you, bye.